I like to use Friday night for telling stories more than for giving sermons. This is a story that chances are many of you have heard before, but what's more Jewish than that? Going back to an old story that always has a fresh meaning. It's the story of a very poor, they're always very poor, tailor, it's always a tailor, named Mendel, they're all named Mendel, living in some snowy, nondescript shtetl far, far in Fiddler in the Roof country. And what makes Mendel special is that Mendel is a dreamer. And I don't mean that just abstractly, I mean literally, Mendel has the most vivid dreams. In particular, he had a string of dreams night after night, week after week, month after month even, of a particular city he had never seen, and in that city a particular bridge, and under that bridge, buried just below the surface, a treasure chest full of gleaming gold. Over and over and over he had the same dream until he could stand it no longer, and he decided to set out and see if he might find that city, that bridge, that gold. He knew it was crazy, but he had to do something. And so Mendel traveled from city to city, looking and searching until finally he did find a skyline that reminded him of his nightly dreams. And in that city he searched every road and river, and finally he found a bridge that looked to him quite familiar. And without really thinking about it, he scrambled down to the edge of the muddy bank and started to dig with his hands in the dirt. A moment later, crossing the bridge, came a police officer who looked down and said, hey you down there, what are you doing in the dirt? And in that moment, it was almost like Mendel was a man awakening from a deep sleep. He wasn't at all sure how he was going to explain to this officer what in the world he was doing in this foreign country, in this foreign city, under this bridge, digging madly for a treasure. But he couldn't think in that moment of a particularly convincing lie, and so he just went for it and said, you know, I've been having a dream of this bridge and dreaming that there is a treasure buried underneath, and he closed his eyes and clenched up and waited to be taken away. And instead, the officer starts to laugh. And he laughs and laughs louder and louder until his face is red and there is sweat pouring down his brow. And the officer says, you fool, going chasing some dream. Why, I, every single night, dream of a tailor named Mendel living in some little shtetl somewhere in nowhere who's got treasure buried under his kitchen floor. And do you see me knocking on doors, asking if a Mendel looks here and asking if I can tear up their tile? Good luck, buddy. And he walks on. And of course, what does Mendel do? He brushes himself off, he goes home, he rips open his floor, and there he finds a buried treasure. I love that story. I love that story because that story says that the world belongs to people who believe in their dreams. I love that story because that story says the difference between living a life of meaning and purpose and richness is believing that our dreams have value and not dismissing them out of hand. It's so important to believe in our dreams. It's so important to believe in the possible. We have to do that on an individual level. This next week will be the start of Elul. I know, Beth, I'm sorry. We are coming into the holiday season. An executive director has her blood pressure spike when you find out that this month will be the month leading into high holidays, but it's true. We can't change the calendar. We are coming into the month of introspection. The month that most of us know as a month for examining our deeds and in particular feeling bad about the ways that we fell short. What if we used this coming time of preparation not to beat ourselves up, but to check back in with our dreams? What if we use the next few weeks between now and Rosh Hashanah to say, what is the life I authentically want to be living? What is the vision I have for myself, for my family, for my community, for the world? What's the thing that I've always dismissed as impossible that I want to go out and claim and see if it might be possible this year? What if the lead up to the high holidays didn't need to be about self-flagellation, but rather about self-empowerment, about the possibility that anything is possible? Not only do we as individuals need to check back in with our dreams, but we need to do that as a community too. We need to, from time to time, as a community, look at ourselves and say, who are we and who do we want to be? What is the story that we want to tell ourselves, and what is the story that we want to tell the world? What are our biggest and wildest and most audacious dreams for what's possible as a spiritual community in the 21st century? If we don't take the time to dream together, we'll always be constrained by our fears, by our sense that the odds of finding the treasure are slim. I want to invite us over the course of these next few weeks leading up to high holidays to check in with our personal dreams. And I want to invite us over the course of this year that we're going to spend together to dream big dreams for us. I'm looking at a pretty good start. Shabbat Shalom.